A brief history of humanity. This is a cautionary tale to the full extent of human existence, a glimpse into a final future that waits a species driven by curiosity and resilience, the true cost of exponential growth in an infinite universe. Continuing any further in this telling may result in disillusionment, irreversible dread, or enlightenment. Continue at risk of your own sanity. This story assumes a basic understanding on non-rotational black hole dynamics, that this story begins in a time beyond the existence of the universe you currently observe, and that you understand the appearance of our physical self is always changing. The great eraser follows always. There is no going back. A new beginning. You may wonder why the universe seems so devoid of intelligent life. The truth of the matter is that the universe was once full, and currently is still full. But the universe gets very stagnant. Resources become rare. There is a point of complete saturation, and this is the point we arrived at. In a fully populated universe, there is no going back. The dreams of open spaces and true variation were lost many trillions and trillions of years ago. Our species saw our greatest achievements and any wonders evaporate in time. Our systems have been set in place and in motion without change for unknown and unmeasurable eons. Our history forgotten. What started as a colorful, varied biome became one singular species. Yet, so varied by personalized physical change, there was no discernible collective form, but lacking individual mentality or neural diversity. All intelligent, all understanding, all human. The age of paradise was gone. This was humanity's final escape from itself, not to a place, not to a time, but to a place with no time, a place where a single thought would last an eternity, where the stagnation of time and space would itself inhibit growth. You may think that you are here listening or reading or sitting and absorbing this information, but that may not be the truth. You may think the seconds on the clock that you are looking at are ticking by at a rate that seems familiar or that you understand. And you may even think that the thoughts that you're having right now originate in your brain. Our current state. And this is where we find ourselves now, locked in endless simulation. A craft of our own perfect design, a seemingly pure reflective polygonal prism of no relative size, heading ever faster towards the always receding blackness. Processes slowed, quiet solitude. To call this object a computer, a supercomputer, AI, neural network, or even a machine would be like describing how thoughts and quasars are alike. Because they are not. An object built by a universe full of omnipotent gods over any measurable eternity. But even this object's flaws are its greatest strength, eluded by its own infallible precision. Did it work? Are we still in the endless universe full of our own likeness? Are we locked in some finite but empty universe of our own making? Or are we living anew in a virgin universe on the other side of the singularity? And does it matter? The consensus was that it genuinely doesn't. Our journey will only ever be a fraudulent retelling of a physicality that eventually stagnates. No beautiful ending or final understanding, just us. Not knowing the true nature of one's existential state leads to a new unknown future. Voidstar. Voidstar Alpha 1 was farmed during the scavenging era and is a localized non-rotating single-point delta-V super-heavy black hole. Voidstar has kept its alpha-class classification through outsource selection as the most likely candidate to achieve singularity flips. Unique to other candidates. Voidstar's stability was consistent, no Hawking radiation with a zero particulate halo, and was hence essentially invisible. Any object sent on a perpendicular trajectory into the singularity will follow a straight path through, and according to our understanding, come out the other side traveling the same path you went in, but backwards and anew. Fading was the term used to describe this phenomenon, As an object enters the black hole, from any observer, it pauses in space until the motionless object just fades slowly to black. The reverse then happens. The object fades back into existence and leaves the black hole just as it entered. Though there are two big differences between the two events, the object appears in the same space, true, but in a different universe, and the black hole is no longer black, but blindingly light. A white hole, illuminated from within by magnifying all the stars from its black hole counterpart universe, like a magnifying glass focusing its light, a window to an entire universe in a pinprick. Now this process in its deliberation is lengthy, and a single fading event stretches many times the age of the universe, where trillions of years are like single moments. These are just the relativistic times experienced by the object. From any observer, infinity would be a closer figure. While the object's internal clock only passes between 4 and 9 billion years, via a robust internal physics simulator that jumps back and forth in time correcting alignment issues, leading to a massive slowing of internally perceived time. It is said that a spiral galaxy does one rotation in the blink of an eye, billions of years in a second. We are the lucky ones, those whose waking eclipsed an unknown future and past, with wonders unseen, finite time and eternal rest. Perception is our greatest invention. Mega 1. Mega 1, Mecha, conceived after the creation of star 91b, a Generation 91 ultra-heavy metal star, capable of creating rare, highly stable NiOS materials. These ultra-dense materials remained unworkable for most of human existence and only ever became needed for the creation of what was initially called Mecha, but became known as Mega 1. A device powered by its own perfection, a symbol of the universe's entire collaboration, an indestructible universe simulator, the absolute definition of finality, with a single message to infinity. I'll see you at the finish line. Timeline. Any information pertaining to the early eras should be viewed with scrutiny. The true physical form and timeline of humanity can only be estimated, as history tends to falsify itself over time. We believe that humanity first became independent of our base star after the second unification, when war almost destroyed us for the last time. This world of wars was given a null status and eventually stripped for materials along with 3 other previously populated bodies. By this point, humankind was already unrecognizably diverse, with a great population who would never experience gravity. Gravity was poison, the great inhibitor, a well mankind could only escape once. The evolutionary changes inflicted by the loss of gravity were almost instant and irreversible, though glacial compared to our own modifications. There is no knowing the true numbers of people in the galaxy at this point, but after what must have been several million years, we'd significantly altered a small section of our base galaxy, like moths to a flame. Those still worshipping the boundaries of gravity found new homes. Everywhere humans went, we respected other living things, and eventually outlived them. Our propensity to continue was a unique feature. The weakest survival feature. Don't ever stop. The long game. The box equation. To simplify our understanding of human consciousness and to probe life for alternate systems, the box equation was created by a consensus of planet-sized humans called the Piro cluster, who simplified all human consciousness into a single gradient voltage wave in a 2-dimensional polygon. The formula could predict all possible variants of base human consciousness. Initially, the box equation was a filter for identification of human consciousness, as any visual identifiers were incapable. This led to the first Great Awakening, a period when the reality of our spread became apparent, when a census revealed the extent of human imprinting. What is it to be a human? It is nothing more than the physical state in which the smallest structure in the body resides. It's not physical or even matter. it's also not ethereal. You are a repeating gradient ion flux, or many RGIFs to be precise. Any number of alterations can be made to this system, creating neural diversion, but only to a point before breaking. This is being human, an unbreakable symphony of tiny waves. Waves that propagated into everything we touched, not because we wanted to, but because that is who we are. This census opened the eyes of all people to our predicament. Half of our galaxy now becoming heavily populated, and an estimated half of all human consciousness opted to long sleep cycles of over 100,000 year per year of waking, in alignment of planetary precession. This led to the signing of the first reordering, where long sleepers were conglomerated into low-energy storage, and a unified effort was made to halt viral conscious spread. This era was known as the pause, where the spread of human consciousness even reversed. The promotion of other life was our unified undertaking. This was humanity's proudest point. It was also the moment of our first extragalactic contact, our furthest reach, and our biggest mistake, the explosion. The explosion. The shortest journey we ever made was everywhere else but here. We never believed we were gods. Our limitations and rate of growth were obvious. Our flaws were scars on our past, and our understanding of ourselves was complete. We believed the first contact went something like this. A message in the form of directed beams, likely neutrino jets, scattered in waves across the galaxy, and were intercepted across millions of star systems instantaneously. A set of instructions for building a return communication machine. We built it. In our first communication we sent the box test, a verification that we are not talking to ourselves, and to our surprise a completely new conscious prediction was returned. Unlike our own mind. Better. A non-repeating and complete crescendo of standing waves. Our reply was where we lost all grip on our species. We sent our own box equation in return. The explosion started at this very point. We never made a deliberate push to conquer space. In fact, the opposite was true. But like a bacterium we spread. Where others faded into obscurity, we continued. Our story is not one of a single path, but the path of a number, beyond words, of galaxy-spanning wars, of almost total annihilation uncountable times, but also of a past easily forgotten, and the stories of curious individuals just wanting to live. Compared to our initial expansion into our home galaxy, our expansion into the universe was instantaneous. The shackles and unity of our home species were gone. We communicated our consciousness to the furthest galaxies, and them to theirs, and so forth. This was not a conscious effort, but a byproduct of our population. We believed the wavefront of this spread to continue forever. Side note. The second front. In later times, the propagation of a second front of destructing data was released. A safety measure against the unsettling understanding of our reach. For any naive settlement, as your own, the box equation would destroy your very concept of life and reality. An unfortunate effect of infinite time is being unsure how many times you can destroy something and rebuild it before you lose the details that make it unique or natural. If you look too closely at nature, you may end up staring back at yourself. Some things are better not known, so a destructive measure was set in place to corrupt the file. A strangeness to this propagation is that the front is thought to echo back at some long-distant time, to flood, destroy, and reflood the universe with these signals. This is our legacy. The Great Uniformity. This leads to the current and longest epoch, the late sedimentary age, the Great Uniformity. Surely the precipice of our wave floods upon an unending universe, and colonies are still starting anew around distant stars. But we will never know. For as far as we can contact, the message is the same. The uniformity of humanity's effect on chaos encompasses all. Now we all sleep, waking rarely. Those who wake have no boundaries to fulfillment, but fulfillment itself. Our understanding of self leaves us with no illusion of freedom from existence. As long as our consciousness wave exists somewhere, our fate is infinite awareness. Inherited by its very precision, so small and so replicatable, we never assumed it was a single immortal instance. You cannot die when you are everywhere. Even now we are unsure whether this was by our own doing or natural to all life. But these principles have been used for many generations, for rebirthing and generational information transfer. These are the facts as we know them. Our consciousness is a unique fingerprint, separate to our thoughts, not a soul, a shaped form of energy that processes thoughts. A song that whistles us to a certain outcome, productive, driven, and curious. Whether biological or artificial, so long as mind uses this piece, it will be human. We can only guess our original form.